Hello and welcome to Lion's Maw Gaming. I'm Dustin, and this is Dark Souls, a deep dive into the dark. An in-depth playthrough where I'll be using a wide variety of weapons, builds, and playstyles to combat the many dangers within this game. In addition to that, I will be exploring the lore and taking a deep investigation of every area that we find. So if that's something that would interest you, consider subscribing. You'll see more of this every Tuesday and Thursday. But let's do some character creation. I am Dustin. And we are going to be male, and we are going to play as the Deprived. And we're taking the pendant. And the rest doesn't really matter. Let's get right into it.
In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty bolts peeled apart their stone scales. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath the Scaleless betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers. And man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark sign. Yes, indeed. The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
And so we find ourselves trapped in a cage with nothing to our names besides the pendant that we brought with us. A simple pendant with no effect. Even so, pleasant memories are crucial to survival on arduous journeys. And the brand that curses us to undeath. The dark sign. The dark sign signifies an accursed undead. Those branded with it are reborn after death, but will one day lose their mind and go hollow. Death triggers the dark sign, which returns its bearer to the last bonfire rested at, but at the cost of all humanity and souls. We also have the black separation crystal. This black crystal, long a symbol of farewell, is granted to banished undead. The crystal sends phantoms back to their homes, or sends you back to yours. Beware of fickle use of this item if you intend to nurture relationships. And there was a man, a knight, who tossed us down a corpse with something on it. We also have a broken sword. We have a straight sword hilt. The hilt of this lost sword was found discarded in the Undead Asylum, only slightly better than one's bare hands, and not recommended for extensive use. Be certain to find a replacement quickly. And then we have the dungeon cell key. Key to the dungeon of the Undead Asylum to the north. A mysterious knight, without saying a word, shoved a corpse down into the cell, and on its person was this key. Who was this knight, and what was his purpose? There may be no answers, but one must still forge ahead. I will be reading all of the item descriptions that I come across as we get them, or as is convenient. So the first thing to keep in mind is we are not the only undead stored in these cells. There's an undead there. An undead there. Or no, there isn't. Yeah, there is one there. And there's some that are out of their cages. Yet they still just wander the halls aimlessly. Here's one that's given up. And here's one of our jailers. The Stray Demon. Who put these demons here? What is their purpose? Why do they listen to those people? All questions to think about. This undead seems to have had a rough time with the Stray Demon. And oddly enough, they wear a sack on their head. Just something to think about. It's another undead sitting in the water, just waiting. And we come across our first bonfire. Now, if you look through this window in the courtyard, right above me, you'll see the second jailer. That is the Asylum Demon. They're very similar, however, one wields a glaive, I believe? And this one wields a great hammer. But looking through that window gives you a bit of a heads up on what's about to happen. This courtyard's interesting to me. It's kind of a connecting point, but it connects to almost nothing now. It seems that many entrances were never made or were sealed. There's a locked gate over here that we can't get to. And then there's huge doors. We're just gonna push our way through. There's the Asylum Demon again. As we walk forward, it's gonna drop down. and you were supposed to run over through this gate. Now, this is probably a good time to bring it up as we rest at our second bonfire. I have played these games, this game in particular, dozens of times. Even for doing the video that you saw yesterday, that was an announcement to this one, I had to play through the beginning of the game a lot, because I was trying to do a different weapon at first, and I changed my mind. But I made the beginning run of this game up through the part of the Undead Parish 15 times before I changed my mind. But anyways, I recommend highly, if you have not played this game and you fully intend to, stop watching, play the game, and come back. I can't emphasize this enough. Your first playthrough of Dark Souls should be blind, in my honest opinion. The only circumstance in which it shouldn't be is if you're not going to play it otherwise. I feel this game is by far the most enjoyable on your first playthrough when you have no knowledge of what's coming. That's just my spiel. I've said it. Do with that information as you will. And now we have an archer up here and a corpse with a plank shield. So let's throw that on and let's take a look. Makeshift shield built from wood planks provides minimal protection, but at a cost of moderate humiliation. So we're just going to run forward after this guy. We got a club. As the straight sword hilt instructed us, we're going to replace it as soon as possible. A simple wooden club. This simple bladeless strike weapon is effective against most foes, is easily handled, and can break the guard of a shield. However, a single miss makes one wide open, so timing and proximities are crucial. We're just gonna take care of him. We find a fog wall. Fog walls are found all over this game. And they tend to signify, like, almost checkpoints. One interesting thing is this game has next to no overworld load screens. They're very few and far between, so I feel like those fog walls were partially used before that was determined. Also, there's the knight that helped us. He's not looking too great. Let's see if we can find a way in there. This wall's really messed up. If we walk down here, we find a gate that we can open from this side, and it takes us back to the courtyard. So we have a little shortcut if we happen to die. And if you look very closely up there, you'll see a rounded shape. That is actually a giant cannonball. And you'll see it gets pushed over as soon as we start heading up there, and it breaks through the wall. So we walk inside, we find the knight. Let's talk to him.
Oh, you. You're no hollow. Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. I'll die soon, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you. You and I, we're both undead. Hear me out, will you?
Of course.
Regrettably, I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family: thou who art undead art chosen, and thine exodus from the Undead Asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know. Well, now you know, and I can die with hope in my heart. Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask, an undead favorite. Oh, and this. Now I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now, and thank you.
So we'll leave. Just take a look at those items he just gave us. We get the Estus flask. The undead treasure these dull green flasks. Fill with Estus at bonfire. Fills HP. The Estus flasks are linked to the Firekeepers. the Dark Tales also make reference. An emerald flask from the Keeper's soul. She lives to protect the flame, and dies to protect it further. Undead Asylum, Floor 2, East Key. Key to the iron bars on the east side of the second floor of the North Undead Asylum. The Undead Asylum is a gigantic undead prison, or a giant undead prison, segmented by countless iron bars. Even if an undead were to escape from a cell, passage to the outside world would not be gained easily. So something to think about based on what this says is it specifically reads the North Undead Asylum. That kind of implies that there's more. That there would be other Undead Asylums in other locations. So we just come from one of them. And as the description said, these Estus flasks are your healing items. Also, if you just listened right there, the knight is gone. He had held out long enough for us to reach him. And then there's this guy, the one that pushed down the cannonball on us. And what you just saw there, well, saw poorly there because of the camera angle, was a backstab. I'll go over those a bit more in a minute. And now we can open up this door. There we go. Took care of those two. Now there's another archer over here. Alright, here's another look at a backstab. If you stand behind an opponent and just hit him with a light attack, so your what would be R1 or your right bumper, you will do a backstab. And it does a lot of damage. It's a really good technique for dealing with a lot of enemies that are humanoid. And there's another technique that the game teaches you, right here, known as a parry and riposte. I'll show it off. Hitting the left trigger as an enemy goes to attack, you'll knock their weapon away, breaking their guard. And then hitting the light attack again, right bumper or R1, will do a riposte, which is a stronger, does more damage than the backstab. It's a very, very good technique to get down. The timing's a bit hard, but once you get it, it's great. Pressing the Y button lets me two-hand my weapon, and you'll see why in a moment. Walk through the fog wall, and there's the Asylum Demon. So what you just saw there is a bit of an exploit. Basically, normally when you fall off of a high height, you can do a plunging attack by hitting the right bumper. But if you do a jumping attack by hitting right trigger and pushing forward at the same time to do a jump, you can actually get that attack plus the plunging attack. So that's why I did a little more than you'd expect. That's a technique that can be used for a few bosses. Tips for the Asylum Demon if you're struggling. Just play defensively. He has a long wind-up after his moves. So if you see a move coming and you aren't confident you can dodge it, just back up. Like this. And then you can approach him again and hit him before he gets a chance to do anything else. This move in particular, where he flies up and slams down, has massive opportunity for you to attack. And honestly, if you move into him right after he finishes it, he tends to repeat it. But that's pretty much all of his moves. He's kind of basic. He does have one where he jumps forward and slams down his hammer. Let's see if I can bait it out. Maybe not. Doesn't look like it. Alright, I'm gonna take care of him. But that's the Asylum Demon. And we get the big Pilgrim's Key. And as you listen, you can still hear the stray demon pacing down below. Key to the inner door of the Undead Asylum, main hall. Big key belonging to a chosen undead pilgrim. But this chosen undead knows not what this pilgrimage has in store. And we got a humanity. Rare tiny black sprite found on corpses, used to gain 1 humanity and restore a large amount of HP. This black sprite is called a humanity, but little is known about its true nature. If the soul is the source of all life, then what distinguishes the humanity we hold within ourselves? So this says greatly restores HP. As far as I'm aware, this fully restores HP, period. But that's humanity. And here's the door. We find ourselves in a graveyard. The writing has been lost to time. Many of the stones have broken. The land itself has collapsed. You notice a small bird's nest over there. Keep that in mind. We'll be talking about it later. If you walk around over here carefully, and over here, there is a corpse with the soul of a lost undead. Soul of a lost undead who has long ago gone hollow, used to acquire souls. Souls are the source of all life, and whether undead or even hollow, one continues to seek them. Also, as you can see in the bottom right corner, we've gotten a lot of souls from that boss, 2,000 to be exact. The other 288 are from the other enemies we fought along the way. We come to the edge of this peak.
Only in the ancient legends it is stated that one day an undead shall be chosen. To leave the Undead Asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
And we find ourselves in Firelink Shrine. It's telling us in Lordran, level up and kindle at bonfires. But I think I'll save that for next time. For now, it's time to rest. So join me back here next time as we explore Firelink Shrine and some of the areas surrounding it. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. And don't you dare go hollow.